The asteroid belt should have been empty space and tumbling rocks. Instead, Commander Varric Ironwind found himself staring at a fleet that shouldn't exist. "Proximity alarms are screaming bloody murder," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Kessa Brightforge, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. 47 contacts, sir. Configuration unknown, but they're not broadcasting any identification codes." Varric's weathered face remained impassive as he studied the tactical display. The fleet of angular obsidian vessels moved with predatory grace through the asteroid field, their hulls absorbing light like cosmic vampires. Each ship stretched nearly a kilometer in length, bristling with weapons arrays that made humanity's finest warships look like toys. "Distance to Mars?" Varric asked. 18 million kilometers and closing, sir. At their current velocity, they'll reach Mars orbit in 43 hours. The bridge of the UES Stormbreaker fell silent, except for the hum of life support systems. Varric had spent 30 years in the void, from the Jupiter mining conflicts to the Titan rebellion, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. First contact with an alien species, and they were heading straight for humanity's second home. "Sir," Communications Officer Tenna Swiftcall interrupted, her voice tight with tension. "We're receiving a transmission. It's in perfect English." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a creature that challenged every assumption about alien life. The being stood nearly 3 meters tall, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming like polished obsidian. 4 arms ending in razor-sharp talons gestured with calculated precision, while compound eyes reflected an intelligence both ancient and utterly alien. "Humans of the third planet," the creature spoke, its voice a harmony of clicking mandibles and synthesized tones. "I am Hive Commander Zilthara of the Devourer Collective. Your species has been deemed adequate for our purposes." Varric stepped forward, his military bearing unchanged despite the gravity of the moment. "This is Commander Varric Ironwind of the United Earth Space Force. State your intentions." Zilthara's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Intentions? How quaint. We do not negotiate with livestock. Your world will serve as a breeding ground for our progeny. Your people will provide sustenance for our expanding hive. Mars will become our forward staging area." "Like hell it will," Varric growled. The alien's compound eyes shifted, focusing on him with predatory interest. "Your resistance is noted and dismissed. We have consumed 17 civilizations across this galaxy. Their defiance lasted precisely as long as it took our ships to reach their homeworlds. You have the distinction of being intercepted before we could claim your red neighbor." Kessa's hands flew across her console. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from their weapons. Whatever they're packing, it makes our particle cannons look like flashlights." Varric felt the weight of humanity's survival settling on his shoulders. Behind him, his crew of 50 souls represented the best of human space command. Around them, the void held secrets that had taken humanity centuries to unlock. And somewhere beyond Mars, Earth spun in blissful ignorance of the threat bearing. "Down on them!" "All ships," Varric commanded, his voice carrying across the fleet communication network. "This is Ironwind. We've got 47 hostile contacts inbound for Mars. They've made their intentions clear, and those intentions don't include our continued existence." He paused, looking at each member of his bridge crew. These men and women had signed up to explore the cosmos, to push humanity's boundaries ever outward. Now they stood as Earth's first and possibly last line of defense. Signal the fleet, battle stations. If these bugs want Mars, they'll have to go through us first. Admiral Celia Stormwright had been enjoying her morning coffee on Luna Station when the priority transmission arrived. Now, 3 hours later, she stood before the largest war council in human history, her steely gray eyes reflecting the weight of species survival. "The Devourer Collective," she announced to the assembled commanders, "considers us livestock. They've eaten 17 civilizations. They think we'll be number 18. The holographic display showed the alien fleet's position relative to Mars, a cluster of red dots moving with inexorable purpose. Around the table, representatives from every human colony shifted uncomfortably. General Caius Thaneborn from Mars Command leaned forward, his scarred features grim. "Our deep space monitoring stations went dark 6 months ago," he reported. "We thought it was equipment failure. Now I'm thinking these devourers were cleaning house, eliminating our early warning systems. Dr. Lydia Voidhart, chief xenobiologist, and the closest thing humanity had to an alien expert, pulled up biological scans. The transmitted imagery shows a hive-based species with distributed consciousness. If they're anything like Earth's social insects, they'll fight with coordination we can barely comprehend." "Coordination isn't everything," interrupted Captain Ray's Blackstorm of the heavy cruiser, Lightning's Edge. "They might be smart, but they've never faced humans in a real fight." Admiral Stormwright nodded. "Which brings us to our response. Commander Ironwind's Fifth Fleet is already engaging the enemy at the asteroid belt. They're outnumbered nearly 10-1, but they're buying us time." The display shifted to show humanity's available assets. It wasn't encouraging. The Fifth Fleet consisted of 12 ships total, facing 47 alien vessels. The rest of humanity's naval forces were scattered across the solar system, some as far away as the Jupiter moons. "We have 18 hours to implement Operation Iron Wall," Stormwright continued. "Every available ship converges on Mars orbit. We make our stand there." "Admiral," interjected Director Nix Shadowbane from Earth's orbital defense platform, "our particle beam satellites around Earth could potentially—" "Negative," Stormwright cut her off. "If we fail at Mars, Earth's orbital defenses are our last resort. We don't reveal our full hand until we absolutely must." Meanwhile, aboard the Stormbreaker, Varek watched as his fleet engaged the enemy vanguard. The first exchange of fire illuminated the asteroid belt like a deadly aurora. Human particle beams lanced out, meeting alien energy weapons that turned space itself into crackling sheets of plasma. "Direct hit on Contact 7, Kessa shouted over the din of combat. "Their shields are down, but hull integrity is holding." "These things are tough," muttered Engineer Dex Forgehammer, monitoring the ship's power distribution. "Our heaviest weapons are barely scratching them." Varek studied the tactical display with growing concern. The Devourer ships moved in perfect coordination, their formation shifting and adapting like a living organism. When one ship took damage, 2 others moved to shield it while it recovered. Their weapons seemed to charge faster than human technology could match. But humanity had advantages the aliens hadn't anticipated. "Kessa, pattern analysis on their formation movements. Look for predictive elements." Varek's mind raced through decades of tactical training. If they're hive-minded, they might follow algorithmic patterns. "Sir," Communications Officer Tenna called out, "We're receiving burst transmissions from mining facilities throughout the belt. The asteroid miners are offering assistance." Varek's eyes lit up. The asteroid mining crews weren't military, but they knew this region of space better than anyone. Their ships were tough, designed to handle the harsh conditions of asteroid operations, and their crews were resourceful beyond measure. "Patch me through to the mining network," Varek ordered. "All stations, this is Commander Ironwind. We need every ship, every mining laser, every piece of heavy equipment you can spare." The response came back immediately from mining foreman Grit Rockcrusher aboard the asteroid dancer. "Commander, we've got 73 operational vessels in the belt. They're not warships, but we know how to crack rocks. Figured alien hulls. Can't be much different." For the first time since the encounter began, Varek smiled. The aliens had studied human military capabilities, but they hadn't counted on human ingenuity, desperation, and the stubborn refusal to give up that had carried the species from Earth's caves to the stars. "All units," he broadcast, "prepare for Operation Rockhammer. We're going to show these bugs what happens when you threaten human space." The battle for the asteroid belt transformed from conventional warfare into something entirely unprecedented. Mining ships Ore Crusher and Deep Digger flanked the alien formation, while military vessels provided covering fire, turning the engagement into a three-dimensional chess match played at light speed. Captain Finn Ironquake of the mining vessel Rockbiter had spent 15 years carving minerals from asteroids. Now he aimed his industrial plasma cutter at something that could shoot back. "These fancy bugs probably never dealt with a mining crew before," he muttered into his comm. "We don't fight fair, we fight smart." The Devourer fleet responded to humanity's unorthodox tactics with confused hesitation. Their hive-mind coordination faltered when faced with the chaotic, individualistic approach of human miners who treated space combat like an exceptionally dangerous extraction operation. "Sir," reported Kessa from the Stormbreaker's tactical station, "the alien formation is adapting, but slowly. They're having trouble processing our non-standard attack patterns." Varek watched as mining ship Asteroid Hammer used its gravity tethers, designed for hauling massive rocks, to physically drag a damaged Devourer vessel into the path of its own fleet's weapons fire. The alien ship's shields collapsed under friendly fire, its hull rupturing in a spectacular display of venting atmosphere and debris. "They're learning," observed Dr. Vex Mindweaver, the fleet's xenological advisor who had been studying the alien combat patterns. "But their learning curve assumes logical, predictable opponents. Humans are neither." The key breakthrough came when Chief Engineer Dex Forgehammer noticed something unusual about the Devourer energy weapons. "Commander, their plasma cannons are drawing massive power from their primary reactors. If we could overload their power grid—" "Speak plainly, Dex," Varek ordered, while watching 3 mining ships coordinate a complex maneuver around a kilometer-long alien dreadnought. "Their weapons are too powerful for their own good, sir. Each shot drains their reactor significantly. If we could force them to fire continuously, we might cause cascading power failures." Varek's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. "Kessa, relay to all ships. Operation Ghost Dance. We make them waste ammunition on phantom targets." What followed was perhaps the most audacious deception in human military history. Mining ships released clouds of metallic chaff mixed with reactor waste, creating false sensor signatures. Emergency beacons from damaged vessels mimicked ship energy readings on long-range scanners. The humans turned the asteroid belt itself into a maze of false targets and hidden threats. The Devourer fleet found itself firing at shadows while real human ships struck from unexpected angles. Their coordination began breaking down as individual. Ships lost communication with the hive mind due to power fluctuations. "Their command ship," Kessa announced, highlighting a massive vessel at the center of the alien formation. "It's maintaining the coordination network. Take it out and they'll be fighting blind." But approaching the command ship meant running a gauntlet of overlapping fire from 24 escort vessels. No human ship could survive such concentrated firepower. That's when mining foreman Grit Rockcrusher volunteered for a suicide run. "Commander," his gruff voice crackled over the comm, "the asteroid dancer is already shot to hell. My crew's evacuated to other ships, but I've got a full load of fusion charges meant for cracking the big rocks." Varek understood immediately. The mining charges weren't weapons in the traditional sense, but they packed enough explosive power to shatter asteroids kilometers across. Delivered directly to an alien ship's hull, Grit, that's a one-way trip. Maybe. Maybe not. These old mining ships are tougher than they look, and I've been playing hide-and-seek in asteroid fields longer than most people have been breathing. The asteroid dancer began its approach, using debris fields and damaged alien ships as cover. The Devourer escorts focused their fire on the apparent threat, exactly as Rockcrusher had planned. While they concentrated on stopping one mining ship, they ignored the 3 military vessels moving into striking position from different vectors. "Sir," Tenna reported from communications, "we're receiving a priority message from Mars Command. Admiral Stormwright's reinforcement fleet is 18 minutes out." But 18 minutes might as well have been 18 hours. The battle was reaching its climax now, with the asteroid dancer closing on the alien command ship while taking massive damage. Rockcrusher's ship trailed atmosphere and debris, its hull glowing cherry red from repeated hits. 10 seconds to impact, came Rockcrusher's final transmission. Tell my wife I found the biggest rock in the belt. The explosion that followed lit up the asteroid belt like a newborn star. The destruction of the Devourer command ship sent shockwaves through both fleets. Literal, ones in the case of nearby vessels, and psychological ones that rippled across the battlefield. The alien formation, so perfectly coordinated moments before, suddenly flew apart like a broken clockwork mechanism. Their communications network is fragmenting, Dr. Vex Mindweaver reported, monitoring the xenological analysis feeds. Without the central coordination node, individual ships are reverting to autonomous operation. Varric seized the moment. All units press the attack. They're confused and isolated. Don't give them time to reorganize. The human fleet, reinforced by the arriving mining vessels, swarmed the scattered alien ships. What had been a desperate defensive action transformed into something resembling an actual battle. The mining crews proved particularly effective, using their knowledge of industrial demolition to target structural weak points that military tacticians had missed. Captain Zara Voidripper of the destroyer Solar Blade found herself in close combat, with a Devourer vessel twice her ship's size. The alien craft's weapons were more powerful, but its pilots seemed unable to adapt to her unconventional maneuvers, rolling patterns borrowed from asteroid dodging techniques. "These bugs fight like a computer program," she reported over the tactical network. "Predictable once you figure out their algorithms." But the Devourers were learning fast. The surviving ships began implementing new tactics, adapting to human unpredictability with frightening speed. Their hive mind might be damaged, but individual ship consciousness proved more flexible than expected. That's when Admiral Stormwright's reinforcement fleet arrived at the edge of the battle zone. "Commander, Ironwind," came the Admiral's voice over the priority channel. "This is Stormwright aboard the Titan's Hammer. We've brought 26 ships and some experimental hardware." The experimental hardware turned out to be Dr. Lydia Voidheart's hastily constructed xenological warfare suite, weapons designed specifically to exploit what humanity had learned about Devourer biology during the engagement. "Their nervous systems operate on quantum entanglement frequencies," Dr. Voidheart explained over the fleet command channel. "I've modified our communication arrays to broadcast disruptive interference patterns. It should cause severe disorientation in their pilot cast. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Devourer ships began flying erratic patterns, their movements losing the fluid grace that had characterized their earlier maneuvers. Several ships collided with asteroids or each other as their pilots struggled with compromised neural links. But Hive Commander Zilthara wasn't finished. From the bridge of his surviving dreadnought, the alien leader initiated what Dr. Mindweaver would later describe as a final gambit protocol. "Sir," Kessa called out urgently, "massive energy readings from the remaining Devourer vessels. They're channeling power from life support into their weapon systems." Varric realized the implications immediately. The aliens were preparing for a kamikaze assault, sacrificing their own survival for maximum damage to the human fleet. 23 alien ships remained operational, more than enough to cripple humanity's space forces if they succeeded in their desperate charge. "All ships, maximum dispersal pattern," Varric ordered. "Don't let them concentrate their fire." But the Devourers had learned from human tactics. Instead of attacking as a coordinated group, they split into individual suicide missions, each ship targeting a different human vessel. The mathematics were grim. Even if every alien ship destroyed only one human counterpart, the trade wouldn't favor humanity's limited naval resources. That's when the asteroid miners made their second crucial contribution to the battle. "Commander," came a transmission from mining supervisor Brick Stonecarver aboard the Rock Wraith. "We've still got 600 mining charges spread across the belt. If you could herd those bug ships into the right positions." The plan was audacious, even by human standards. The mining crews would detonate their remaining fusion charges in a carefully timed sequence, creating a three-dimensional minefield of explosions that would catch the suicide-charging Devourer ships in overlapping blast waves. "It'll require precise timing," warned Navigation Officer Trix Starweaver. "1 second off, and we might catch our own ships in the detonations." "Then we don't miss," Varric replied grimly. "All ships, execute Operation Asteroid Storm. Drive the enemy into the marked coordinates and prepare for multiple simultaneous detonations." The final phase of the battle became a deadly game of three-dimensional billiards, with human ships using carefully calculated maneuvers to guide the charging Devourer vessels into predetermined kill zones. The synchronized detonation of 600 mining charges transformed a section of the asteroid belt into a briefly burning nebula of superheated gas and molten rock. When the sensors cleared, 17 Devourer ships had been destroyed in the coordinated blast wave. The remaining 6 alien vessels, heavily damaged and leaking atmosphere, found themselves surrounded by the combined human fleet. Hive Commander Zilthara's transmission cut through the aftermath like a blade. "Impressive, humans. Your species shows more creativity than our previous subjects." But this was merely an advance scout. The collective has 500 fleets spread across this galactic arm. Admiral Stormwright's face appeared on Varric's command screen, her expression grim. Despite their tactical victory, "Commander, long-range sensors are picking up gravitational anomalies near Jupiter. It looks like he's telling the truth about reinforcements." Varric studied the tactical display, his mind racing through possibilities. 6 damaged alien ships remained, their crews likely containing invaluable intelligence about Devourer technology and strategy. But capturing them would require resources humanity couldn't spare if more aliens were coming. "Dr. Mindweaver," he called to his xenological advisor, "can we communicate with individual aliens? Bypass their hive mind connection?" The scientist's eyes lit up with understanding. "The neural disruption field we used earlier might have created isolated consciousness in some crew members. If I can amplify the effect..." What happened next would later be called the first successful xenological diplomatic breakthrough in human history. Dr. Mindweaver's modified communications array succeeded in isolating several Devourer crew members from their hive mind network, creating the first alien defectors humanity had ever encountered. The isolated Devourers, suddenly experiencing individual consciousness for the first time in their lives, provided intelligence that changed everything. The collective wasn't the unstoppable force they had claimed to be. Their expansion had stalled in 3 sectors due to resistance from other species. More importantly, their hive mind dependency created a critical vulnerability that humans could exploit. "The collective feeds on civilizations that fight conventionally," explained one defector, its translated voice carrying what sounded like wonder at its newfound individual awareness. "Your chaotic, unpredictable methods, they disrupt our coordination algorithms. We cannot process such randomness efficiently." Engineer Dex Forgehammer, listening to the alien intelligence reports, suddenly straightened. "Sir, I have an idea. It's completely insane, but it might work." The plan that emerged from the Human Command Conference would have been impossible for any other species to conceive, let alone execute. Instead of preparing static defenses around Mars or Earth, humanity would take the fight to the approaching Devourer reinforcements using the one advantage they had proven to possess: complete unpredictability. "Operation Chaos Theory," Admiral Stormwright announced to the assembled fleet commanders. "We're going to hit the incoming alien fleet with everything they can't prepare for. Mining equipment used as weapons, cargo haulers converted to missile platforms, passenger liners equipped with jury-rigged particle cannons. But the operation required something unprecedented: cooperation between every human faction in the solar system. Corporate mining consortiums, independent freight haulers, military forces, scientific expeditions, even the notorious asteroid pirates would need to work together. Captain Vera Shadow Dancer of the pirate vessel Dark Nebula summed up the sentiment during the joint planning session. Never thought I'd be fighting alongside corporate security and military brass. But if these bugs want to eat us all, guess we've got bigger problems than our usual disagreements. The diversity of human spacecraft, weapons, and tactical approaches that had once made unified military action nearly impossible became their greatest strength. The Devourer's hive mind had evolved to process and counter-organize military resistance. They had no framework for understanding a defense mounted by mining ships, luxury yachts, research vessels, smugglers' cutters, and military destroyers, all operating with completely different tactical doctrines. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Tenna, "we're receiving responses from human settlements throughout the system. Everyone wants to contribute something to the defense effort." The list was staggering. Mars offered its atmospheric processors as makeshift weapons platforms. The Jupiter mining stations provided exotic materials for enhanced ammunition. Earth's orbital habitats volunteered their populations for crash courses in combat operations. Even the scientific stations around Saturn offered their experimental propulsion systems for retrofitting into human vessels. But perhaps the most significant contribution came from an unexpected source. Dr. Lydia Voidhart, working with the alien defectors, had developed a theoretical framework for creating artificial hive mind disruption on a massive scale. "If we can broadcast the disruption signal across multiple frequency ranges simultaneously," she explained, "we might be able to break the coordination of entire fleets. The Devourers who survive would be stuck with individual consciousness, and, according to our defectors, most of their species can't handle the psychological trauma of sudden isolation from the collective." The plan was ambitious beyond measure, requiring precise coordination of resources across the entire solar system, while simultaneously appearing completely chaotic to alien observers. It was, in other words, the most human strategy ever devised. 3. Days later, the Devourer reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace near Jupiter's orbit, a swarm of 847 vessels that blotted out the stars. Their formation was perfect, their coordination flawless, their firepower sufficient to sterilize every human world simultaneously. Fleet Commander Keth Malar, replacing the failed Zilthara, surveyed the approaching human defenses with compound eyes that had witnessed the consumption of civilizations across 17 star systems. What greeted the Devourer fleet defied every tactical algorithm in their extensive database. The human fleet consisted of 342 vessels of wildly varying sizes, capabilities, and apparent functions. Mining ships bristled with improvised weapons. Luxury yachts had been converted into missile platforms. Cargo haulers deployed fighter squadrons launched from converted shipping containers. Research vessels broadcast signals on frequencies that shouldn't exist. Even derelict hulks had been equipped with automated systems and sent into battle as unmanned weapon platforms. This cannot be their military force," Keth Malar transmitted to his sub-commanders. "These vessels follow no coherent tactical doctrine. Their formations violate basic principles of space warfare." But Admiral Stormwright, coordinating the human response from her flagship Titan's Hammer, had learned the key lesson from the asteroid belt engagement. The Devourer's greatest strength, their perfect coordination, became a critical weakness when faced with opponents who refused to follow any rules. "All units," she broadcast across the chaotic human fleet, "implement Operation Pandemonium. Every ship fights according to its own best judgment. No coordinated attacks, no unified strategy. Be as unpredictable as possible." The result was a battle unlike anything in galactic history. Captain Rex Voidstorm of the converted cruise liner Stellar Paradise engaged a Devourer dreadnought using tourism navigation protocols, treating the alien ship like a particularly dangerous asteroid field that needed sightseeing routes plotted around it. Mining foreman Silva Rockhart used her ore processor Mountain Crusher to literally ram through an alien formation, trusting her ship's asteroid impact-resistant hull to survive the collision. Dr. Lydia Voidhart's disruption field, broadcast simultaneously from 847 different sources across the human fleet, began to take effect. Devourer ships started losing coordination, their hive mind connection fragmenting under the sustained neural interference. "Sir," reported Dr. Vex Mindweaver from his position aboard a converted research station, "the disruption is working better than projected. We're seeing cascade failures in their command network, but the Devourers adapted faster than expected." Fleet Commander Kethmalar initiated emergency protocols, sectioning his fleet into smaller independent groups that could operate without central coordination. The adaptation cost them their perfect synchronization, but it preserved their combat effectiveness. The battle raged across Jupiter's orbital space for 18 hours. Human losses mounted steadily. Their improvised weapons and converted civilian ships couldn't match alien military technology in direct confrontation. But for every human vessel destroyed, the aliens lost coordination, predictability, and morale. The turning point came when Captain Nova Starbreaker of the pirate vessel Chaos Engine discovered that Devourer ships had difficulty tracking multiple small targets moving in completely random patterns. Her message to the fleet was simple: split up, go crazy, make them guess. What followed was the dissolution of organized space combat into thousands of individual duels and skirmishes. Human pilots used every trick they'd learned from Asteroid: racing, smuggling runs, mining operations, and piracy. The Devourers found themselves fighting an opponent that existed in a state of controlled chaos, organized enough to concentrate firepower when needed, chaotic enough to prevent effective counterattacks. "This is impossible," Kethmalar transmitted to what remained of his command structure. "They fight like individual creatures with no central purpose. How can such chaos be so effective?" The answer came from one of the alien defectors, now working with Dr. Mindweaver. Because chaos is their natural state. They don't need coordination to fight effectively. Each human ship is its own complete tactical unit. As the battle entered its second day, both fleets were bloodied and exhausted. The Devourers had lost nearly 400 ships, but humanity's improvised fleet had been reduced to fewer than 1/200 operational vessels. The mathematics still favored the aliens, but their morale was breaking. That's when the final phase of humanity's defense plan activated. Every human settlement in the solar system had been preparing for this moment, converting their industrial capacity into weapons production on a scale that dwarfed anything in previous human history. "Sir," announced Communications Officer Tenna, "we're receiving launch confirmations from Mars, Earth's orbital platforms, the asteroid mining stations, and the outer system colonies. Phase 2 is commencing. The second wave of human defenses defied every concept of conventional warfare the Devourers had encountered in their expansion across the galaxy. Instead of reinforcement fleets, humanity launched clouds of autonomous weapons platforms, each one barely larger than a fighter craft, but capable of independent tactical decision-making. Dr. Elena Mindforge, the architect of humanity's distributed AI warfare system, had spent the 3-day preparation period creating what she called digital chaos. Thousands of artificial intelligences, each programmed with different tactical philosophies borrowed from human military history, pirate, traditions, mining operations, and even competitive sports. "Each drone AI has a completely different approach to combat," she explained to Admiral Stormwright as the weapon swarms deployed. "Some use ancient Earth gladiator tactics, others employ asteroid belt mining techniques, and a few are based on children's playground strategies. The Devourer's hive mind can't predict or counter such diversity." Fleet Commander Kethmalar watched in growing confusion as 50,000 tiny human craft swarmed his remaining 447 ships. Some drones attacked in coordinated wolf-pack formations, while others operated as lone hunters. Some used conventional weapons, while others deployed mining lasers, industrial cutting tools, or simply rammed into alien ships carrying fusion charges. "This is not warfare," Keth Millar transmitted to his subcommanders. "This is madness given form." But the madness was devastatingly effective. The drone swarms exploited every weakness the human fleet had discovered during the main engagement. They targeted power coupling systems identified by the mining crews, attacked communication arrays mapped by the research vessels, and used approach vectors pioneered by the pirates and smugglers. More importantly, Dr. Voidheart's hive mind disruption field reached critical effectiveness as it was broadcast from thousands of sources simultaneously. Devourer crews began experiencing mass psychological breakdowns as their collective consciousness fractured into terrified individual awareness. "Sir," reported one of the alien defectors working with Dr. Mindweaver, "the remaining Devourer ships are requesting permission to surrender. They're calling this the Great Madness and believe humans are a species of chaos entities." But Keth Millar refused to accept defeat. In desperation, he initiated the collective's ultimate weapon, a planet-killer device that would destroy Mars as a demonstration of devourer power, hoping to force human surrender through terror. The massive energy buildup was detected immediately by human sensors. Every ship in the combined fleet turned toward the alien flagship, but they were too far away to prevent the weapon's activation. That's when Commander Varric made his final contribution to humanity's survival. "All ships, this is Ironwind. I'm taking the Stormbreaker on a direct approach to their flagship. Cover my approach and prepare for immediate tactical withdrawal to minimum safe distance." "Sir," protested Kessa from her tactical station. "That's suicide. The energy discharge will destroy anything within 1,000 kilometers of their ship." Varric's weathered face showed the ghost of a smile. "Not if we give them something else to shoot at." The Stormbreaker's final run became legend among the human fleet. Varric piloted his ship directly toward the Devourer flagship, while every human vessel provided covering fire. But instead of attempting to destroy the alien ship, he activated every emergency beacon, every distress signal, every communication array at maximum power. The result overloaded the Devourer's targeting systems with false signals. Their planet-killer weapon, designed to lock onto planetary mass signatures, instead targeted the massive energy output of the Stormbreaker's overloaded systems. When the weapon fired, it struck Varric's ship instead of Mars. The explosion that followed created a temporary star in Jupiter's orbital space. The energy release was so massive that it overloaded the Devourer flagship's power grid, causing a cascading failure that destroyed the ship and its entire escort squadron. The remaining Devourer vessels, cut off from their command structure and overwhelmed by individual consciousness they couldn't process, surrendered en masse. 6 months later, Admiral Celia Stormwright stood before the United Earth Assembly, delivering her final report on what historians would call the First Interstellar War. "The Devourer Collective has withdrawn from human space," she announced. "Our unconventional approach to warfare has been designated by their leadership as incompatible with standard conquest protocols. They've reclassified humanity as a chaos species and marked our entire star system as off-limits to collective expansion." The news was even better than it appeared. Through interrogation of captured devourers and intelligence provided by defectors, humanity had learned that several other species had successfully resisted the collective using similar chaotic tactics. An alliance was forming, a confederation of unpredictable species that the hive mind collectives couldn't effectively counter. Dr. Lydia Voidheart's research into hive mind disruption had proven applicable to 3 other hostile species humanity had encountered. The mining crew's industrial warfare techniques were being adopted by military forces throughout human space. Most significantly, the spirit of cooperation that had emerged during the crisis continued to unite previously fractious human settlements. The Devourers made one crucial error, Admiral Stormwright concluded her report. They assumed chaos was a weakness. They learned too late that for humans, chaos is just another word for adaptability. In the asteroid belt, a monument had been erected at the site of the first engagement. It bore the names of all humans lost in the conflict, topped by a simple inscription chosen by the mining crews who had fought alongside the military. They came to grab our world. They found out what happens when you threaten humanity's rock pile. The galaxy had been warned. Humans might look like easy prey, but they fought like chaos itself given form and purpose. And chaos, as the Devourers learned, was impossible to defeat because it could never be truly understood or predicted. Humanity had not just survived first contact, they had established themselves as the one species that could make the universe's predators think twice before hunting in human space.